Working from home is a phenomenon that's gained traction during the COVID lockdown. This was further encouraged by the government in June at the height of the third wave of COVID-19 infections when alert level 4 of the lockdown was effected. So what is it that those who have set up an office at home need to know about how to go about claiming for expenses incurred in the process? Well, to discuss this further, I'm joined by Afzal Khan. He's from Raft Consulting. Thank you very much for joining us, Afzal. Now, how widespread has the work from home phenomenon become, would you say?
Well, I think from last year, everybody was forced into that position. So everyone had to do it. The difficulty with the law is that the law hasn't changed. So the law is still as it was before COVID, and nothing has been done to amend legislation to allow one to operate in these COVID times that we find ourselves in.
So in the interim, what are some of the working from home expenses that people can claim for from the taxman?
So anything that you use for your job. So let's take, for example, some of the classic ones. If you're using stationery, this is something that you can claim. The space, and these are quite complex areas, but I'll give you a few of them. The space that you work at home, SARS put a draft interpretation note out in July this year, just to remind everyone, it needs to be a dedicated space. You need to have more than 50% of your time spent for business. It's incredibly complex because the pitfalls around this are numerous. If you don't keep proper records, because all of this will get audited by SARS. And I don't think we're in a place where we have a kind tax authority on this matter, and they will treat this as any other matter. So you need to keep documentation. You need to be able to prove that what you're claiming is related to your employment. Something as simple as fiber. If you've got a network connection at home, everybody knows that you're now using this to do work, but there's no law. So SARS could come and say, well, you need to prove that you use this for your business or for employment. How do you prove something like this? I don't think taxpayers are equipped to prove something like this. One would have hoped that the tax authority would have come out and said, we will accept A, B, and C, and we won't put taxpayers through any form of draconian post-audit by SARS, at least for the 2021 tax year that has passed, because we've all been quite damaged by what's happened in the last 12 to 18 months.
Indeed. A bit of a converse question. What expenses do people tend to try and claim for that they really should not?
So the personal expenses, so you can claim something that's business unless it's personal. And the problem when you're in your home, how do you draw that distinction between what is home and what is personal? So if I was at the office, I'd get coffee at the coffee station, and my employer would deduct that coffee as an expense. But if I'm at home and I'm working from home and I have coffee, is that not a business expense? But then Section 23 will step in and say, sorry, that's personal. So somewhere we would have expected, National Treasury or SARS to say, these are the types of things we will definitely accept. That is different to the past, because it is not business as usual. It is very, very different times we find ourselves in, and nothing has changed. I think the guidance to taxpayers has been don't claim, which, I don't know that is the right approach, given where we find ourselves, that companies are saving money because the lights are not going on, staff are not using the lifts. So companies are saving money, but nowhere is the employee that's working at home getting the benefit of any of those savings. So it is an unfair situation, I think, that employees find themselves in.
Yeah. Given where we are, Afzal, do you think going forward there is going to be a bit more clarity in terms of legislation? I suppose there needs to be, doesn't there? Because following COVID, it does seem as though some people will continue to work from home.
Yes, so the legislation is clear, and this is the difficulty. It's clear when it says you cannot claim. So for example, if you had a study at home and you wanted to claim the rent for that pro rata portion of your study at home, you could claim that. But then the problem is when you sell that place, or not rent, so you could claim rates or lights and water. When you then sell that property, you'd have to exclude that from your capital gains tax calculation. And it's not the exclusion, it's the complexity of having to do these calculations and keep the relevant documentary evidence for SARS to come and audit. So we would hope that the law would change. That National Treasury will accept that this is now the new normal, that people will be working from home, and new laws are called for to govern what are expenses incurred at home that are business expenses, like the purchase of a printer.
Given the complexity that you're outlining, presumably it would be quite safe for people to get an expert advice on this. Otherwise, they're really going into uncharted territory.
Yes, and the difficulty with expert advice is who's going to pay for it. I wouldn't want to see, normal taxpayers having to pay tax advisors. I think National Treasury need to step up, get the expert advice, make the change, and make it simple. Keep it simple for the taxpayer out there. So these are the 5 things that you can now claim. As an example, there was a time in the past where your laptop that you got from work, there was this whole debate of surely at home you use it for personal expense, for personal use, so you must do an apportionment. And they changed the law to say, well, we will presume that if you use your laptop at home for personal, it's incidental to your normal business, so we won't tax you for it. So, that type of thing is what we're looking for, to say these are the type of things you use at home, like your internet connection. Your internet connection, you have to have it for work, so we will deem anything that happens at home other than that to be incidental, and we will allow the use of your internet connection as a tax deduction.
Afzal, this sounds like very complicated territory indeed. Thank you very much for your insights there, Afzal Khan. He's from Raft Consulting.